Greetings, salutations, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at, whenever you're watching this. I'm Ryan, setthepacetriathlon.com, and in this video, we're going to go over how to build your own training plan. I've been a coach since 2012, been racing since 2005, 13 Ironmans, 15 half Ironmans, so forth and so on. Tons of experience of racing and coaching, and throughout that time, I have developed my own specific plans for specific events and courses and fitness levels. Generally, when I go through and I design a plan, it's based on a course. As you see in the background, we got 70.3 St. George. I want to design a plan for that for the intermediate athlete. So I do the venue, and then I do a beginner, and intermediate, and advanced athlete. And that goes into the Training Peaks Plan store, where people can purchase them wherever they want, apply them, save them, apply them again, reuse them over and over, whatever they want. But the one thing it won't do is if you've got races in there intermingled and everything, if you need to massage it and move things around, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to make sure that you're planning that correctly. So we're going on an assumption, this is your only race, your A race, and this is what you're going for. If you have any questions, you got other races in there, you can always drop me a line, put it in the comments. If you got any questions while we're doing this video, I'm going to go through fast and furious to try not to lose you during this process. But if you got any questions, put them in there. I'll try to get back to them later, try to get to them live in the video. And as always, I create individualized plans. So if you have a 12-month span, you got 2 Ironmans and a half Ironman mixed in there somewhere, and some local Olympics, and you want to design your whole plan for the whole year, I'm your man. Come check me out. Anyway, my little spiel is done, so we're going to dive right in. So May 10th, 2025 for St. George. As we now know, it is in Reservoir Swim. Ironman professionals have raced this many times on TV, so if you've not watched it, go back, check it out. It's epic. The bike, hilly is an understatement. There's some serious climbs on that on the bike course. It almost feels like you're mountain biking. So you definitely need to be ready for that. And then the run is hilly as well, but you need to be able to get through the bike course with sufficient fitness to be able to do the run course. So if you just train heavy on the bike and then get to the run and you didn't train as much necessarily, or if you're racing to your maximum on the bike course during the race and you get to the run, it's going to be very uncomfortable. So my plan is designed to get you there with your level of fitness sufficiently with enough energy to get through the entire race, not just get through the bike course and then survive on the run. So take that in consideration. Hilly bike, so I'm going to design a plan that's very bike heavy to get you at fitness level ready. Not necessarily so you can crush it, but so you can get through comfortably within your targets and then get to the run course. And then a hilly run. So this is going to be a very strength specific program. Since it's a reservoir swim, it's a big reservoir, but current and wind really is a significant problem. So especially for like an intermediate level athlete, I'm assuming you're already done a 71.3, or you've got enough fitness, you can do a 2,000 yard swim workout without much of a problem. So that's usually where I start you at. But in a reservoir, you really don't need to focus as heavy on the strength swim like open body of water like Panama City Beach or something like that. So this one is going to be very kind of laid back on the swim, but very bike heavy. And then we're going to hit you hard at the beginning for the run to get that strength built up, and then get you to the distance as you get through. So I always like to look the day of the week because there are Saturdays and Sundays, and it does make a difference on your taper week and what day of the week it is. This one's on a Saturday. So I've already started in Training Peaks a shell, and all my 70.3 plans are 20 weeks. I think even for a beginner, that should give you enough time, basically from couch to finish line. You may not finish in a record time or anything like that, but that'll get you to the finish line. So 20 weeks, that's about 5 months of specific training for a race. So I at least assume most people can do a 3 to 4 mile run by the time they start, maybe a 30-45 minute bike ride without much problem. And then I build the beginners up in the swim. The intermediate, we start off with 2K swims. So that's a little bit of background. So I put the event on the calendar. And then I work backwards from there. I start with your bike long rides in the beginning, and keep in mind we're doing intermediate athletes, so your long rides are more about the aerobic fitness. So I'm looking to get the mileage in, not necessarily go out and kill you. We will kill you during the week with other training plans, but I go backwards. So we start with our, actually I skipped a step. What I do first is I figure out what your weeks are going to be. It's going to be a taper week, race week, build week, transition week. Transition week is not a off week or recovery week, but is a transition, a little bit less intensity, kind of similar amount of volume that you're doing, but kind of gives you a little bit of break to soak in that fitness and then hit the next cycle running. So usually 3 to 4 week build sessions, and then have a taper in there, and then get you back to the building for the next one. I call race week taper week, because that's truly where you're really tapering down. You're really just falling off the map as far as the level of intensity and the volume that you're doing. I call the 2 weeks before kind of a race prep week. So you're still doing some intensity, but you're going down in volume and not doing as much intensity. For my intermediate athletes, I build in a transition week before you start your race taper, so you soak in that last minute of fitness. But that last build phase going into the race specific prep is going to be the toughest week. So you got 3 weeks of build. So one right after another where you're building, and you're going to be tired by the end of that, and you're really going to be ready for that transition week and going into race prep. By that time, you should be tired, should be worn out, but that's the whole goal of this training plan, is to build you up from breaking you down. And I also like to do, for my intermediate athletes, I like to get in 2 solid build cycles. My advanced athletes, I'll do up to 4 weeks of build. Intermediate, I kind of cap it at 3 weeks. So we get you kind of built up. So you got 2 cycles of 3 weeks of build. This one, since St. George is kind of a tough course, I want to do 3 week build cycles, because I really want to get you guys up to speed, and it may fall out. And that's where I kind of have to do a little bit of art form at the beginning, figuring out. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So if I do a build transition, it kind of works out a little bit funky. So that's where I kind of have to go back in and massage it a little bit. So I've got a 3 week build. I don't really want to go more than 3 weeks for an intermediate athlete. So I go back. Let's do a mini build. We'll break you in, kind of a little bit of a build week to start with. So it may be kind of a shock to the system when you start that plan. But then you're going to go build, transition for a week, and then build. I don't want to have you start off with a 3 week build right off the bat. I think that's a little brutal. Definitely won't want to crush your soul and your spirit in the first few weeks of your training plan. So going back, like I said, I work backwards here. So go back to your long bike rides. I like to see about an hour and a half. And the typical, since I'm not building this for a particular athlete or particular schedule, long bikes are on Saturdays, long runs are on Sundays, because I like to see people running long distance off of long bike rides, because that's what you're going to do in a race. Usually swims are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mondays, I like to do that as your kind of active recovery day. So the swims there are going to be pretty kind of bland, kind of more about distance rather than intensities. And then Tuesday, we're going to hit you with hard bike rides. Thursday is going to be your hard runs. Wednesdays and Fridays, like I said, are going to be your swims. Wednesdays usually the toughest swims. Fridays are a little bit more strength-based to roll you into the weekend. And then we add some brick days on the weekends, and then we go back and we add some strength. So we're going back into race prep. I dial you back down to about an hour and a half the weekend before the race. And like I said, this may not be for everybody. This might be for some people. So when you're going through, don't look at the plan and be like, oh man, this is totally crazy. There's no way I can do this. There is a way you can do this. As long as you follow the plan. Stick to the plan, and you'll be all good to go. Alright. So I like to get you, especially intermediate athletes, I do a little bit above the last build week, above the race distance. So it's 56 miles, so I like to see you do 65. You're kind of over biking the distance, just because it's a standalone bike workout day, so it's not that big of a deal. But rolling back into 50s before that. So you do have a few weekends of 50. And again, this is for the intermediate athlete. So if you're a beginner and you're looking at this going like, oh my God, he's trying to kill us. No, this is for my specific intermediate athletes that should be able to handle this kind of volume at this point in their little fitness journey. So we got another 50 for your last build week. So then I'm going to go into, so we got 245. So then I'm also doing a mixture of time and distance. So I like to see not a significant increase or decrease. You know, like 10% is kind of the rule of increase or decreases throughout the week as far as not building you up too fast. So we got a 245, so I'm looking for a 230. And again, this is a very, very tough course on the bike. So I am going to be a little bit more brutal probably in this training plan for the bike course. Just because I want to make sure that you're there and you're ready. So you're probably going to end up doing... For some reason that bike workout kind of slipped. Yeah, sometimes, you know, Training Peaks is a little bit squirrely as you're going through and building the plans. You always got to go back and make sure that you've got everything accounted for. So we got 230, we got a 245. Yeah, this guy got stuck by the radar here for some reason somehow. So we go through 245 for this week. So you're about a 230. So then I look back for other plans, for other workouts that I've built. All these workouts are built, structured by power. So it's based off your FTP that you have in Training Peaks. I want to do one more 2.5 hour bike ride day. And then we are dialing back. Be a little bit of a jump. You're going to have a 2 hour to 2.5, which for the intermediate athlete is not that much of a stretch. This is going to be a tough 2 hour workout, a little bit more drastic. So there'll be a little bit, there will be a difference in time, distance, but for the intermediate athlete, they should be able to handle this without a problem. So now I'm back into a couple 2 hour rides that are a little bit more laid back. So as you can see, sometimes Training Peaks, if your internet is bogged down running streaming software like I'm doing now, you will definitely see a lag in this. Broadcasting live while doing this video. It's not ideal to go this slow, but that's what it is. So we go back, we make sure that we got 2 hours, 2 hours, transition week 2 hours. So this is going to be your peak for this point. So when I'm looking back at workouts, taking you back down, we got an hour 45. So notice we're severely scaling back what we're doing, and that's an hour 45. So we're still in the build week. I want to make sure that you're still being challenged that first week. But I don't want to, well, actually I do. We're talking about Ironman St. George here, 70.3 St. George. So we need bike legs, bike legs, bike legs. So we got hour 45, looking for an hour 30 for the transition week. Something a little bit laid back, not super killer. But I do want to do something a little bit more super killer. And you're coming back. Starting that last build week. And again, you can see Training Peaks is not playing nicely right now. So again, if you got any questions while I'm putting this up here, I'm looking back and forth between my screen and the questions. So we got an hour 30 hard workout to end that first build cycle. Because notice I went through, like I said, it was kind of a funky little beginning to the training plan. Like I said, I don't want to totally crush your soul before you're starting, but I would need to make sure that you're challenged. So we're going to put another hour 30 from that build, first week of the build, and then we're going to do an hour 20. Like I said, for my intermediate athletes, I've expected that maybe you've done a 70.3 before, or, you know, doing a 40-50 mile bike ride isn't really out of the realm of reality of what you're doing. So hitting it an hour and 10 minute on that first weekend shouldn't be a difficult situation to accommodate. And like I said, this, you know, I'm kind of giving you behind the curtain of setting up these plans, making sure everything looks good. Let's go to week 1. So once I go through and I lay out the long bike rides, I go through and I lay out the weekly bike rides. So again, I like to start off a little bit easy. So I start off with a 45-minute, and then we do a very laid back hour ride. Transition week, like I said, is a little bit less intensity. So I go through and I'll put, you know, you just got an hour on Tuesday, on Thursday. Like I said, bikes are Tuesday, Thursdays for this plan, and long rides on Saturdays. Build week, like I said, Tuesdays are when I start looking at your plan where I'm laying down a little bit of intensity on your bike rides. Thursdays, I like a harder run, so I dial back the bike ride so you're not killing yourself in both instances. Because that is definitely not what you want to do. You don't want to burn yourself out, killing yourself on one day of the week, and then you have to pay for it the rest of the week. But the easy rides, the zone 2 rides, you can call them easy, they progressively get longer. So you're just building out that aerobic capacity longer and longer. And again, this is an intermediate athlete. We're not going for podium spot necessarily. If you podium, you know, PR kind of day, you know, we're not going to argue with that. But we're definitely, that's not what we're totally looking for here. So build week. I like to do kind of 2 days within a 3 build period before we start getting extremely longer in the times. So we're an hour and 5. This build week, we're going to go to an hour and 10 for your long ride, or not for your long ride, for your zone 2 ride during the week. And then you transition, it's just going to be hour 10, hour 10. And go back to the next week. You got an hour 10. And we're going to bump you up. Hour 20. Another hour and 20. So notice, you know, these are not exceeding what you started off with for your long ride at the beginning of the plan, but that is all part of the plan. But transition week, I kind of dial it back a little bit. Again, those transition weeks are kind of a chance to give your body a little bit of recovery time. I don't call them recovery weeks because you're still doing workout, you're still doing decent volume, but you're not doing the super huge intensity necessarily. We're just trying to let that fitness kind of soak in, because you definitely don't want out there and totally kill yourself. So I dial it back to about an hour and 10, and then we gradually build back up. And notice we're getting close to that race phase section. So we got an hour and 10. And building up to hour 20. And then an hour 30. So again, you know, I'm building these without any consideration for maybe the constraints that you have during the week. This is an ideal situation. But if it doesn't work for you, then you can always buy a plan, upgrade the training peaks, move your workouts around as you need to. Like I said, if you got any questions and comments, I can always address those. But again, not knowing who I'm necessarily building this for, other than the course and the athlete type, this is kind of where we're at. So once you get to race prep, you know, we do our little transition week. We do come off a little bit of volume, but then I'm looking at a little bit more intensity, but a little less time. And actually, I want to do one more hour and 20. And then I get into my strength sections. I want to do an hour. You're just hitting the zone 3, zone 4. You're not killing yourself necessarily, but you are keeping the legs awake. So during this time, you're going to feel a little bit of... you're trying to manage recovery versus maintaining as much fitness as possible before you get to race day, because you're going to lose a little bit of fitness as you dial back the intensity and the volume. But that's what we're trying to do, is give your body a chance to recover. So you're going to lose a little bit of fitness, but the object is not to lose a copious amount of fitness. So we're going to do a tempo ride here Thursday before your race, and we're going to do a 10x3 power set. So by this point, these power sets should be nothing for you. You should be used to them by now. should not be a problem to get those done. So notice I'm going back in my pre-built workouts. I'm cycling through tempo rides, strength rides. Some of them kind of overlap in the fact that they could be a strength ride or a tempo ride. So just keep that in mind. I'm also going to, most races will have a opportunity to swim the day before the race in the course. I don't recall off the top of my head 70.3 St. George does or not. So what I do is I usually do a practice open water swim and a little bit of a run the day before a race. So that Thursday is usually when people arrive into town. So I put a quick little 30-minute shakeout ride, put your bike together, make sure everything works, and you get that little bike ride in there. So notice I've only filled in 2 days and some weeks of the bike workouts. So now here comes the fun part. So now I dig into my bike strength sessions, and I've got some force reps that are built specifically for strength on the bike. I do these early in the plans because we're tearing you down early to build you up later. So we definitely want to go through and set a good foundation for these, for the ability to be able to climb for extended periods of time. So these right here, these will get you over punchy hills. So a little bit punchier. So it's a couple of different sets of bike rides. So we did that's what you always got to work for. Make sure that so I did you an easy ride, got you in force reps, and then we got transition, and then so force reps, 1 set, 2 sets, and then 3 sets. So I like to top you out at that first kind of 3-week build cycle. Got you in 3 force reps. So then we move on to something a little bit more fun. So I've got a couple different workouts that are pyramids of power to kind of simulate bike climbing. So what I like to do is I have some climbers. 1 set, we got 2 sets, and the last week is the 3rd set. So that 3rd one is going to be a butt kicker. But you will thank me on race day when you go through and do all these. So that's that one, and then I go through the last week of the build. I do like to get you guys, so we do Pyramid Power Junior, and then we do a Pyramid of Power Full. So notice, yeah, you always got to keep an eye on Training Peaks. Sometimes it'll drop you your workouts in the wrong spot. And just press my computer to keep up. So we're doing this live. Do it live! If you haven't seen that video, you should. So there we go. So right now, as it stands, I've got every bike workout in here. So I built you up with strength at the beginning to get you ready for doing some butt kicking later on in your training plan. So this is kind of the structure that I go over for the bike. And then the run is going to be a similar situation. So I've been talking for about 23 minutes now, and you kind of see my philosophy, how I go about and build these plans. So the key points here is I've got these built workouts that I've had for years. I've built them year after year. I keep adding different workouts as I've experienced them or come up with them or hear about them or train them myself. So I've got a library of hundreds of workouts that I can choose from for different courses, different fitness levels and all that, from beginner to advanced athlete. So the same philosophy is going to work for the run in this case. So I'm going to build you up, probably not past the 13.1 mile run that you're going to do, but there's going to be some strength training for the run at the beginning. And we're going to work on kind of stretching that out with a little bit of tempo run, but we're still going to work strength for that run because those hills, you want to be ready for them. You definitely want the legs to get through them. You want the muscular endurance to be able to get through them. And then the swim, like I said, is going to be a little bit more laid back. It's more about volume, not necessarily, you might work on some speed, but really not as much the strength component as I do with other plans, just because you're going to, it's in the, you look back at the plan, it's in a reservoir, so it's not extremely difficult as far as the necessity to be able to swim over currents and waves and all this other stuff, and plant animal life and all that kind of fun stuff comes with the other races. So I want to finish this plan, and this kind of gives you an idea. I just want to do a little video to share about the process that I go through to make a training plan. So generally it takes me 45 minutes to an hour to make a plan, depending on the distance, the complexity of the race, and all that kind of fun stuff. But, so if you're an athlete and you say, I want to build my own plan, you just kind of saw the outline that I go through and tell people. Problem is, if you want to do this as an athlete, you need a coaching profile on Training Peaks, so you can build all these workouts and put them into a plan. You can also make your own plan. You can put your own workouts in and kind of do your own stuff as an athlete. You get a premium account. You can make these as you go along. It's taken years of trial and error, feedback through athletes of workouts that didn't work that I need to go fix. There's still some workouts in there that there may be holes in. I just haven't heard about them. So since 2012, been working on these workouts, so 12, 13 years, building these plans. So that all goes to say that at the end of the day, if you want a plan, but you don't want to spend the hours to build the workouts and the hours to put the plan together and the hours of research to figure out what would work the best, like I said, I'll share in the comments of where I put my plans on Training Peaks, and they're there. Most of them are like $30 or something like that. And like I said, if you have problems, you can always email me. I got my email in there. I'll try to help you out as best as I can. For my coached athletes, these are the workouts that I use to build their plans. So that may be similar to these races that I put together for people, but when I'm looking at an athlete that's doing Kona, and I know his background, I know where he's doing bike rides in Ohio, I know the humidity there, I know the situation. If I'm based in Kansas City, it's probably pretty similar climate. Can you go outside? Can you go indoors? What can you do? Can you get to bodies of water? Then I can go through and be very creative with the plans I put together. But for the standard athlete off the street, if you're not looking to break the bank, you can go in there, and I've got tons of standard plans for multiple distances and multiple fitness levels. So if you've got any questions, if you're looking for a specific plan, put it in the comments, and I can try to go through and hit you back with what I got. Also post the link to my plan store, and then you can do Control F for find, and then you can search for the name, or you can just go to Training Peaks store and search for the name of the event, and you can go through and filter. Usually I'm on the lower end of the price scale. There's tons of other plans out there too on Training Peaks, but if you like kind of how I'm putting stuff together, it kind of speaks to you, definitely look at my plans and consider them. A lot of athletes have done great with my plans. They keep coming back for more, keep coming back for different events, because not all plans are the same for every event and every fitness level. It's not just, I don't just copy and paste it into a new plan. As you can see, for St. George, intermediate athlete, I don't have one out there, so I'm making this plan from scratch. And I'm thinking about the intermediate athlete, thinking about the course and what they're going to have to do, and it plays through my mind as they do the professional races out there. And so I've watched it. I know Snow Canyon, the climbs, just everything you're going to have to be ready for. And I put these into the plans, so anybody off the street that uses these plans, hopefully they're in a good spot. They're well prepared to do the race and cross the finish line. So I'm going to wrap it up instead of going through and finishing the rest of this plan and boring you to death. If you got any questions, put them in comments. Look through my plan store. See if there's anything in there that'll help you out. And with that, we're going to wrap up this video, and we'll see you in the next one.